Often we find people telling that I'm not able to love myself. The trauma that I've undergone has depressed me so much that I'm not able to cope up with the emotions. So, how do we cope up with the emotions? Do we really have to do with that, or do we have to process the emotion within us? Confusing, right? So, all these would lead us to self love. How do we do all these things? Understand it through Info Honori on today's episode. Welcome to Info Honori.
ಕಂಟೆಂಟ್ ಇಷ್ಟ ಆದ್ರೆ ಲೈಕ್ ಶೇರ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಸಬ್ಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ ಮಾಡಿ.
Welcome to Info Honori. Today we have Vidhya Sreenivasan from Songs of Sharada. Welcome to my show.
Thank you so much.
Vidhya ma'am, of late we get to hear a lot about self-love. Start loving yourself. Is it a very new concept?
It's actually a really interesting question. I don't think it's been a very new concept, but I think in the current times, given the kind of challenges that we are going through, it is important to revisit this concept, and it's important to be more intentional and aware about it today.
Right.
Okay. So let's say that back in olden times, you had a quieter kind of life, right? There was not the kind of stimulation that we have today. People didn't necessarily have the kind of pressure that we are going through today as a global community. I'm not saying that trauma didn't exist. People went through a lot. You had wars, you had famine, you had so many different kinds of problems, poverty, right? So all of these things we have gone through as a human community even back then. But I feel like the kind of pace in which life is expanding today, the kind of pressure that we have to be better than what we are, to challenge ourselves more and to grow in such a fast-paced economy, such a fast-paced world, this is pressuring us more. It's giving more stimulation. Screen time is a huge factor, right? So all of these things are making us feel more disconnected from life. Because even if we think back of our childhood, we would know that even back then, we didn't face the kind of issues that we face today when it comes to feeling disconnected. We feel more disconnected today. So I think screen time also does have a lot to do with it. In this scenario, because we have felt more disconnected with ourselves, it is more important for us to choose self-love today and be more intentional and build a good, aware, healthy, loving relationship with ourselves where we feel safe.
So, how do I know whether I love myself or not?
Okay. So, how do you generally talk to yourself? When something goes wrong, do you tend to blame yourself? Do you feel more distant from yourself when a crisis arises? And it's normal to feel that. But the more important question to ask here is, how quickly do you calm yourself down? How quickly do you speak with yourself saying, hey, you know what? I know this is happening, but we'll get through this. How aware are we of what is in our control and what is not in our control? Because if you're blaming ourselves for something that has happened, which is outside of our control, then that may not be the best example of self-love. We can be kinder to ourselves, right? So are we doing the best we can for our growth? And self-love is also about discipline. Self-love is also about challenging ourselves more to do the things that we want to do for ourselves. It's about getting ourselves closer to the goals that we want to achieve for ourselves. So there are so many different things that self-love includes, right? But perhaps the overarching view of it is that, are you doing enough to help yourself stay happy, stay peaceful, and stay aligned? Do you feel good in your company? Do you feel safe in your company? Do you feel protected with yourself? Do you feel like you are taking good care of yourself? Do you feel like you're being a good friend to yourself? And it's a work in progress, and it's also, I don't think there is any one point in which we can claim that we are fully healed. Because it's a lifelong process. When you get to a certain level of healing, there's a further level of growth that is unlocked at that point of time, right? So your goals you become more ambitious when it comes to loving yourself that way, right? So it keeps growing and growing and growing. And I think it, for me, I don't view it as too different from spiritual evolution as well. Because at the end of the day, spiritual, non-spiritual, whatever it is, everything is part of the same goal of being happier, being more peaceful, serving more, loving more, receiving more love.
So, how do I start loving myself?
You can start by choosing to do more things that bring you peace of mind. Okay, for example, if you see that you are overstimulated, you can perhaps reduce the amount of time that you spend on screens, how much ever you are able to. That's one way. If you know that, this is a goal I have set for myself, you can check in with yourself more regularly to see, am I doing enough to achieve that goal? Because then you're motivating yourself more. That is a form of self-love. You can check and see if you are doing enough things to make you feel happy and comfortable and liberated. The things that give you pleasure. Are you doing that enough? So to just, I think, be more aware of each need that you have and see how much you are doing to give yourself what you need. That could be and I think it's very important to prioritize this over what you are told by others, whether it is society, whether it is peers, whether it is family, whether it is anyone, any circle of influence that you have. To prioritize your needs louder and stronger than what you are told to do by others.
Then you are claimed to be selfish by the society.
Is that a bad thing? To be selfish doesn't mean you're causing others harm. It means you love yourself enough to care about yourself. And all of us are selfish, right? We take care of ourselves. We look out for the ones around us. We make sure that we are safe and protected. So is that selfish? Maybe it is, but it's a good thing to be, right? So I think to make sure that you take care of yourself is a very good place to be in. You just need to make sure you don't cause harm to anyone, because that's not a good thing. Give out as much love as you can, but start with yourself. You can't pour from an empty cup. So you have to love yourself as much as you are able to. You have to be in love with yourself.
So that you love the world.
But not for that, but because it is important for you to love yourself. And ultimately it will flow to the world, but it does need to start with yourself. Because when you do that, you become way happier. You enjoy the abundance of the entire universe when that happens. That's a beautiful space to be in.
When do you think one has to think of self-love?
All the time.
What age you begin with?
From childhood? See, I think in childhood, children are
Like
naturally...
they actually love themselves.
They do. But I also think that's a time when your conditioning is so impactful on them. So it is important that we let them feel comfortable loving themselves and prioritizing themselves. And that won't happen if we don't love ourselves and if we don't prioritize ourselves. Because children are not going to learn from what we tell them to do, they're going to learn from what they see us do. So we need to start with self-love in order to let that become a good pattern that children can learn from and grow into.
But then off late, self-love is used by people who are healing. Maybe they've undergone a trauma, maybe there is a relationship failure or something. So how do one get over these feelings to start loving themselves?
I think that's a very deep question, because every single one of us deals with trauma, every single one of us deals with grief. We deal with loss, we deal with heartbreak in different forms. And I think it is very important to sort of let ourselves process that grief. Because sometimes we are in a hurry to get over the situation, to be strong both for ourselves and for others. So we don't end up processing the depth of what we have gone through. And any feelings need to be felt. Like you need to really feel your emotions, and that's the only way in which you can be actually free of them. Otherwise, you're just sort of suppressing it within, and that's not good for you. Right? So it's important to release it out. It's important to find a safe space, and I will really emphasize on this. It's important to find a safe space where you can safely release your emotions. Whether it is crying, whether it is talking about and processing your emotions. So you need to make sure that you have a very safe set of people with you, or one very safe person, right? A family member, a friend, whoever, or even a therapist or a coach, right? That you can sit with and sort of discuss these things with. Because it's very important that you make sense and you're able to process and understand what is happening to you because of what you have been through. Because that increases your self-awareness. It allows you to, it gives you an opportunity to understand yourself better and to help yourself better. So I would say it is important to start with processing those emotions, right? Everything that is happening inside. I would also say that intense times are an opportunity for us to meet life up close. And what I mean by that is, if you have any intense experiences of grief, heartbreak, any really intense experiences where you've gone through a lot of pain, you will notice that sometimes it almost, when it feels like your heart is breaking or something, very intense emotions, you're experiencing those, you feel very close to life at that point. Think about it, right? You feel very close to life at that point. You feel like you're touching life. And that gives you a lot of perspective in terms of what are the things that really matter to me, right? Another thing is that intensity itself becomes a way to deal with life, in the sense that you are able to engage with life very closely. See, a lot of existence is about falling in love with life, right? Because life is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to experience so many things. It's an opportunity to grow, to be happy, to expand in love, to serve more. It's an opportunity to experience an abundance of wealth and emotions, right? And somewhere, when you come really close to a point, an intense point, you understand that you have a lot to give. You have a long way to go. You have a lot of growth that you can do for yourself. Is there a possibility of alchemizing these intense emotions of sadness into growth? That is also an opportunity that is given to us when we go through grief. Because it's very intense emotion. But can you use that as manure for creating something? Can you transform that? And it's possible. You have to believe in it. Okay? So I think I somewhere see these intense moments as an opportunity for you to shape your life the way you want to. Because your level of intense awareness at that point, it's really high. And at that point, you can use that energy as inspiration to get to where you want to be. So that's an opportunity that's coming your way, right? So everything's an opportunity and we get to utilize that opportunity. So I think that is one thing. But one thing that we do have to be very mindful about is how kind are we to ourselves when it comes to processing emotions? Do we give ourselves the space to do it? Or do we think that we are weak for having emotions? Because that's not a good thing. Every single one of us has intense emotions, right? So at some point of time, if we feel that we have suppressed these for far too long, it's a very good idea to get help, to do things that can help you release these intense emotions. Because that makes you feel more happy, more relieved, more safe in your nervous system. And that can really very much enhance the quality of your life. And I would probably recommend that for everyone. Because you get one life and you would want to live it the best way you can. Right? Why waste all the beautiful things that can happen in life? Right?
So that's best today's info at Home with Vidhya Sreenivasan. Hope you find this conversation helpful.